As London's anti-Israel marches continue to disrupt our country and intimidate Jewish people week in and week out, it's important that we understand who exactly has the power to put an end to the anti-Semitism and disorder on our streets. So Mark Rowley.
Anybody puts their foot over the line of the law, we're going to be absolutely ruthless, and we have been, and you'll see many, many more arrests over the next week or so.
So Mark Rowley is the Met Commissioner, and we have repeatedly called on him to step up and curtail the weekly anti-Israel demonstrations. Today, the Met announced that this Saturday's march cannot extend into Whitehall, stating, "We must balance the rights of the protesters with the rights of others. The scale and frequency of marches is causing serious disruption to many Londoners." While this is a welcome move, it's a relatively minor one, all things considered. So Mark Rowley needs to enforce the law and utilise his powers to the fullest extent. But what are they? He has the power under sections 12 and 14 of the Public Order Act 1986 to impose conditions on a march or rally where this is reasonably believed to be necessary in order to prevent serious public disorder, serious damage to property, or serious disruption to the life of the community. Under sections 12 and 14, a serious disruption to the life of the community includes where the march or rally by way of physical obstruction results in the prevention of or a hindrance that is more than minor to the carrying out of day-to-day activities, including, in particular, the making of a journey. And in considering whether the march or rally may result in serious disruption, the senior police officer must take into account all relevant disruption and may take into account any relative cumulative disruption. While some conditions have been imposed on the protests being held in London in recent months, these have demonstrably been insufficient to prevent serious disruption to the life of the community. The Met Commissioner also has the power under Section 13 of the 1986 Act to prohibit a specified class of march with the consent of the Home Secretary for up to 3 months, where it is reasonably believed that, because of particular circumstances in the area or part of the area, the powers under Section 12 will not be sufficient to prevent serious public disorder. And if it is the case that the Met simply do not have the capability, given their current resources, to properly police the weekly protests in London and the resulting high levels of hate crime and other incidents of public disorder, and if it is the case that all other options to remedy that lack of capability have been exhausted, the Met can make a request through the Home Office for military assistance. Sadiq Khan.
By and large, over the last 3 weeks, the hundreds of thousands of people who have been protesting have been doing it in a peaceful, lawful and safe way.
Sadiq Khan is the Mayor of London. We have written to him voicing our concerns about the ongoing demonstrations, but regrettably these have not been taken seriously, which, given what we have been seeing on our streets, is incredibly worrying. So what can Mayor Khan actually do about the protests? The Mayor of London is, for London, the equivalent of a police and crime commissioner under the Police Reform and Social Responsibility Act 2011. As such, the Mayor is responsible for setting the priorities for policing and community safety in London, agreeing the policing budget, which, of course, impacts on resources and the ability of the Met to handle additional pressures, such as weekly protests, and holding the Met Commissioner to account for delivering a professional, efficient, and effective service to Londoners. The Mayor is required to produce and deliver the Police and Crime Plan that explains how the Metropolitan Police, community safety partners, and other criminal justice agencies will work together to reduce crime. The key themes of London's Police and Crime Plan 2022 to 2025 include preventing hate crime, working together to prevent terrorism and violent extremism, and increasing public trust in the Met. The Mayor may, with the approval of the Home Secretary, suspend the Met Commissioner from duty or call upon the Commissioner to resign or retire. The Home Secretary must also consult with the Mayor in making the decision to appoint a Met Commissioner. JameCleverly.
Sadly, I do think that a minority, a small minority within those protests have got very much more negative aims.
JameCleverly is the Home Secretary. There's a lot he could be doing to intervene, but he hasn't. And seeing as everyone is fully aware by now of the intimidatory and thuggish nature of these protests, we're not quite sure why. So what could he do? Under Section 40 of the Police Act 1996, the Home Secretary can, if he feels that the whole or any part of the Met is failing or will fail to discharge any of its functions effectively, direct the Mayor of London to take specified measures to remedy that failure or to prevent such a failure occurring. The Home Secretary also has the power to suspend the Met Commissioner or call upon the Commissioner to resign. He can also amend existing legislation or introduce new legislation concerning the policing of protests, subject to parliamentary approval. We have seen numerous incidents of violence, anti-Semitism, and intimidation from these weekly anti-Israel protests. And as a country, it is time we turn to those in charge and demand that they take action now.